Yep.
You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm good.
So there was no action taken in closed session, direction was given to staff. Now we're going to take public comment on any item not on the agenda. Okay. Then we will go to election of board officers and board appointments.
This one's lower,
Are we using dark blue or light blue?
That doesn't matter. I
No.
just grabbed 2 pieces of
One's-
paper. Okay, let's do dark.
District board rules
Right.
by the annual election of board officers, especially president and vice president. Chapter 2C of the district board bylaws states that the president and vice president of the board shall be elected annually at the first regular meeting in December. No, it's not regular meeting, it's special meeting. No specific procedures for nominations and election of officials are delineated. Current officers, President John Green, Vice President Ashley Sangster. So we're going
The
to,
floor is open for nominations.
yeah, we're going to go to nominations. So you'll be able to nominate. If we receive a second, then
You'll be put on the list.
you'll be put on the list. Then, once all nominations have been made, all seconds have been made, then we'll close nominations, and then they'll vote.
Yep.
So when you vote, you'll write on a piece of paper, you'll place it in this bag. Once all the votes are in the bag, I'll tally the votes and declare who the next person takes the position. Any questions on that? So nominations are,
I'd like to nominate Ashley Sangster for the position of president.
I'll second that.
And Dave Helen nominated Sangster with Green's second. So Ashley's on the list. Any others? Going once? Going twice? Guess we,
okay, so in this case, there's nobody to contest with Ashley Sangster for this position.
They still have to get through votes.
you do.
Got to go through the process.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So write it on paper.
Write what your vote is on a piece of paper.
If you're willing to take that nomination too,
Right.
you have to ask him.
We're doing the vice president separately?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is for president.
Do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Ashley Sangster accepts the nomination.
You've consented, don't you? Motion and second by
You need
month
to
by
write
month.
Right.
My father is still alive.
It's just to be official, because we decided to do so.
Remember, this is
You're
only
going down the
for
ship.
here, not home. Don't bring this home, it's only for here.
You're the board president, home, right?
Right? How hungry are you? It's all fun and games till we get home.
Mr. Sands.
Libyan.
5-0 Ashley Sangster.
So Sangster,
Congratulations, President Sangster.
Lord.
Sangster,
Can we take a seat?
let's do the vice president and we'll move seats, okay?
Okay, nominations are open for a vice president.
I nominate Anthony Collins.
Look at this.
Second.
Second.
Wait, who's Sangster? Second. Anthony's in the map.
For what?
Any other nomination?
Can I contest?
Going once.
Wait, what?
Okay, we have Anthony Collins in for vice president. Nominations are closed. Let's vote.
Yeah, I need to.
Do you accept the nomination, Anthony?
I wrote my answer on the piece of paper.
Okay.
Is it secret?
It is.
It's just us, it's always just us, honey, come on.
And the whole world on YouTube.
Oh, there's that.
5-0 for Calvin's. For vice president.
0. Okay, so, President Green, or Director Green, where would you, no, wait, where would you like to sit?
Need a pen?
You get a pick, have at it. Switch Hector?
Wait,
You know where
what?
Ashley is? Ashley, you move in the middle? John, you move in the middle.
age or what?
I give you one last thing. You just say thank you.
You got to put it out of your chair.
Take a 20-minute recess.
Give you something.
Rearrange the furniture.
A little bit.
That's my favorite squeaky chair.
Now we're gonna finish. Doesn't that sound that, or is that hands up, thumbs up?
You don't need to drown my one anymore, do you? Everybody got what they need? You got everything you need, John? Okay.
Okay.
You guys got everything you need?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's get this shindig on the road.
All right, moving on. Staff and committee reports. We have some ready here.
Just name them all.
San Luis Obispo County Planning and Public Works.
Report,
San Miguel Advisory Council.
didn't hear back from them.
Camp Roberts. Please.
Can I get you to sign it up there?
Certainly. You forgot the first.
Bless you.
There. It's okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Captain Joel Barrett, and I am the new Range Management Authority for Camp Roberts. And on behalf of my commander, Lieutenant Colonel Horvath, Camp Roberts would like to extend all of you warm holiday greetings. So over the last month, we had approximately 1,000 to 2,000 people come through Camp Roberts to conduct their military training exercises. We also had several hundred from the local law enforcement community use our facilities. And over the next month in January, we expect to have a similar number come through. At this point in time, we don't have any loud booms scheduled for January.
Thank you.
However,
Yesterday was the last day.
but we do have some draft requests that may be approved. But we don't expect any heavy activity in the month of January that would be a disruption to the community. So other than that, we are subject to questions. Any questions you may have, whether you'd like to ask me now or later.
Do you have any information on the elk that's been on the base, the activity? I know there was some stuff about damage, and I know a lot of them have been coming off the base lately, and I heard that they were going to do some kind of herd control, or do you have
So that's a great question, and that is of concern to us as well. There is a rather sizable population of elk, and we've been taking steps with the Department of Fish and Wildlife to do some population studies to give them the count that they need to enable us to take some measures to reduce the elk population and manage it appropriately. For the record, the elk that exist on Camp Roberts are not our elk. They belong to the state of California. So anything that we do is got to be approved by the state of California. I can tell you that we are in a pre-decisional phase of exploring options for how to manage the elk population in conjunction with Fish and Wildlife, and that may include at some future date yet to be determined an elk hunt that might be open to the local hunting communities. But nothing has been decided as of yet, and the decision point for that is probably a couple years out. What I've learned is that elk, for some reason, really despise solar panels. And as much as we may really love solar panels for their various benefits, elk like to destroy them. So we are in a similar situation to many of the local residents because of the destruction that very sizable elk population is doing to physical property, and also the risk that they pose to vehicular traffic. So we're right there with you, hoping that the state will enable us to do something about that.
Good to know, thank you.
Thank you.
Just don't let us know.
Let us know when you know, please.
Absolutely. Well, unless there's any other questions, then that concludes my briefing.
Not a
Down.
question, but Saturday we're having Santa come here.
Okay.
So if any of the people.
Would you put in a good word for me?
I will try.
I don't know.
Come down to the wire.
He doesn't trust me, so. But if any of the people there want to bring their kids to see Santa, they're going to be here after the parade at 6 o'clock.
That's wonderful. I'll pass that along to our
Thank
folks.
you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for yours.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So please pass Merry Christmas wishes on from the community.
I would do so glad.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, district staff and committee reports. Interim general manager.
Okay, so we had a short month here. We've been working on a lot of different things. We've submitted and reviewed. We've reviewed and submitted our mid-year budget adjustments. Each department's gone through and looked at the expenditures and made some adjustments, and that's an action or item on the agenda. I spoke with our director of utility services. He's still waiting on a response from contractors for landscaping. Gone through some of the financials and part of doing the budget adjustments and looked at and reviewed our financials for the audit of 2017 and 18, and then 18 and 19. In 2018, it reflected the water fund was $347,223 in a deficit. After the rate study and a rate increase, we now are seeing in the 18-19 audit where it has recovered to 251,234. So it's had a 27.6% recovery in the first year, and that goes in line with the rate study. So if it continues on that trend within 3.5 years from now, that fund then will be solvent and start be able to put away some budget reserves. Providing that we don't experience any unforeseen expense events, and I'll let Mr. Dodds address that if there is any. We also had a company stop by that does banking for California communities and made us just talked about some of our options and referring to the bond that we have on the water tank on the hill. Currently, it's financed with a 4.37 interest rate, and the current rates right now are 2.0. So it's a USDA loan, and there may be options there that we're looking into to either refinance that if it's possible and bring down the payment, or keep the payment the same and shorten the term of the loan, or other options that may be more appealing to the district, even if that bond is subject to being able to be adjusted.
What's the window on that?
Well, they're obviously always changing. It's right now it's 2.0, and it would be something that we're looking into within the next, by the end of the year, if it's something that we can do, or we.
Okay,
right
so
now,
you're
yes,
going to stay active.
Yeah, we have to find out what the terms of that bond will allow us to do at this point in time in the term.
What's the remaining term of the loan?
2045 is what she referred,
the bond comes off.
that she
That's a significant
saw that's
amount.
$1 million. Kelly's probably what, 1.1 million still owed on that one, roughly. She talked about it was around $1 million.
But if you cut the
still.
interest in less than half, that's a
That's a good thing.
significant savings.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. There's a lot of different options there, and I think with what we're going to endure going through and this kind of thing, it would be important for us to study that and see. We may be looking at more loans in that nature and adjusting this one to meet our needs, maybe lower payments, or like I say, shorten the term.
Or both.
Being
You
able-
could actually do both.
Right.
If it allows you.
Yep, or even like when I was talking with Kelly Dodds, is put it in a position where the term's shorter or double up on the payments and not pay the interest and pay it off even sooner. But I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. Utility worker passed the 1-year mark and has earned a merit increase to step 2. And we've conducted 2 CSD functional workspace meetings, reviewing options about our space and which direction we want to go, and creating plans for each fund or for each department, and an operational plan, immediate needs and extended. So those were brought out in those meetings. Last thing is, I heard that Callie Johnson goes back to court January 9th. Where she's at right now is she's claiming, I don't want to say insanity, but mental duress that caused this. And by doing that, and the reason for that is she can, if she claims that and they award her the fact that she was not, what's that? Presumably, that she had mental issues, they could recommend she goes through and takes courses that at the end of her term, or whatever she's sentenced to, that all charges could be expunged. That's what she's after. So the district attorney Fry in this county is going to court on the 9th, and he's going to protest her claim and state that what she's trying to claim is not appropriate in this type of charge. So it doesn't even belong with this type of charge. So if that is, then she would have to face whatever penalty, and I would imagine that will be postponed, and then they'll come back and decide if she actually faces a trial or not.
Refresh my memory, does she have a public defender, or did she hire somebody, or do you know?
She hired someone.
She hired someone?
Yeah.
So the comment in that regard also was made, instead of paying an attorney the fees to get out of it, they've been paid back to the
Okay.
district for taking it. But the fact of having it on her record or not, or having a clean record when this is concluded is a big issue too.
Do we know who her attorney is?
I do not.
I have her name somewhere. I have it somewhere with Elaine or Churchill White knows too.
This information came from witness protection advocates at the county level. You call to find out about pending cases that affect the district, and the information they gathered and give to us was based on the attorney, district attorney Fry, who's the one working on the prosecution of the case, to the advocate group. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
Questions from the board? All right. Yes, any public comment on the interim general manager's report? No. All right. District General Counsel.
Unfortunately, nothing to report tonight.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Two engineers not here. Director of Utilities.
You guys have a report and a few things to add. About 2 weeks ago, we had a failure at well 3 after we had replaced the well. It was a failure of one of the legs on the wiring. It got chafed or something, it blew out, so it was fixed under warranty. Yesterday, we had the same problem.
Tim Warren?
I don't know, it's 200 feet down the ground. But we have the same symptoms, which would lead me to believe that we have the same problem.
Is the new wire time all the way down?
And we'll have to see when we get it out and see what it all looks like. But that potentially is the fix.
Is that covered by warranty?
It's covered under warranty.
Okay.
We're not even 2 months into this.
Was new wire installed when the new pump was that part of the deal?
The new wire was installed when we put the previous pump in.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be a wiring problem. The wiring that blew out last time was actually the wiring that was part of the manufactured wiring from the pump,
Oh, okay.
not the drop wiring. So that should be pulled out next week. Hopefully we'll have a nice Christmas present and there'll be easy fix.
We can get a replacement.
If it's wiring, they can fix that without replacing the motor. If it's actually the motor this time, then
We get a lump of coal.
we get a lump of coal.
Are we removing the pump or is the company removing the pump?
Awalt and Sons, who put the pump in, is removing it under warranty, so there's no cost to the district.
Fair enough.
On Monday, we had our triennial sanitary survey, which is a survey of all the district water sources and storage sources. Pretty much clean bill of health, only a couple minor cosmetic things that they would like to see, and a couple things that they recommend as far as check valve placement that we can't really do, but we're not required to do because of when the wells were put in. Couple of things that they want us to do is update our sampling plan and our emergency notification plan, which should be done on a relatively frequent basis, but ours is only 3 years old, so it's not really out of date.
How often should we be doing that?
Well, the sampling plan should be updated anytime we have a major change to the system. And 2016, the last time it was done, was the last time we had a major change.
Okay.
I just updated it yesterday, today, and sent it back for their review. And we didn't really have any changes, but they have a new format that they wanted to convert it to, so. The emergency notification plan is basically updated anytime the information changes. So if our mode of delivery changes, or if our staff changes, then it needs to be updated. In January, we're going to be looking at arsenic treatment primarily for the SLT well, but potentially for all the wells. During the meeting with the state for our sanitary survey, he indicated that the state is moving towards reducing the arsenic limit from 10 as a maximum contaminant level to 5. If they do that, then all of our wells will be in violation. It's not just the terrace.
So 10 parts per million?
10 parts per billion.
Billion.
Yeah. The public health goal, or PHG, is like 0.002 or something.
But there's also a lot of water districts that are over the 10 that continue to operate.
Yeah. But the state has done a lot for most of those districts to help either provide blending, an alternate source, or some sort of treatment. The point of this whole thing is that we need to start looking at what our options are. That's why we're looking at treatment. There is funding for these types of things, and because we're disadvantaged communities, we still qualify for a lot of funding for these types of projects.
But if I'm not mistaken, isn't arsenic treatment, isn't that like about $300,000 for that kind of system? And then you have hazardous waste has to get removed.
It depends on what type of system you have. The system that I'm going to be looking at is the same one that they actually installed at Pleasant Valley School. It doesn't have a hazardous byproduct, so the treatment doesn't result in a hazardous product. And the maintenance cost should be pretty negligible. So we're going to have to obviously look at the overall cost to install it, the overall cost to maintain it, and operate it, and what the end result is, and what it means to our water system.
And we would need that on all our well facilities.
If they reduce it from 10 to 5, then we would have to have it on all of our current wells. Any new wells that we bring in would be a case-by-case basis.
Based on
where we
what we end up, what the numbers look like from where okay.
Do we have any other contaminants of note that are getting closer to a limit? I know that there's been a couple in the past that we've looked at, but they haven't been a big concern in the past.
The only other one that is a concern at this point is gross alpha, which is a radiative contaminant. There's really nothing that we can do for that, and it's only a concern because it's getting greater, but it's not to a point where we actually have to stop pumping or to do something about it.
What's the nature of the arsenic? What's the nature of the arsenic treatment? Is it an ion exchange process?
I don't have a lot of information on it.
Because sometimes you catch radionuclide removal, you can catch that in a softening type process. Sometimes it's just, part of the
As part
Like
of,
a water softener in your house will remove radioactivity from your water.
so the process, or the company that we're looking at is called Adage. They look at all of your contaminants, and they look at what the best result is given all of your contaminants. Because not every process will work for everything, but I think that the arsenic removal actually removes a lot more other constituents, so it's possible that it could be actually benefiting in other ways.
Adage was the name of that company?
Yeah, it's
And they're the ones who put it
Adage.
up at PD school?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a side note, Joe, I also work with Jay Harris, also known as Pure Tech Water. They do similar systems,
So it's Pure Tech?
Pure Tech.
What was the other name?
Adage.
Adage, okay.
What was the name of the Pure Tech guy?
It's, the name of the company is Jay Harris, but they go by Pure Tech Water.
Okay.
His name is
It's like DBA.
Cody.
Like clockwork. I know, I was getting started earlier.
Stand by.
I see. I just think that if one of the systems can actually get two birds with one stone, that'd be, I think, beneficial in the long run.
Well, we're gonna obviously look for the most beneficial thing long-term with the least operating costs. So it may cost more initially, but if it's the annual cost is less, then that's obviously better.
We'd still need to remove arsenic with the SLT system. The blending will not bring it down to a level that's acceptable.
So right now,
It's
the
our
blending,
configuration.
right now the blending brings it down from roughly 10 to, well, between 7 and 10 to a solid 7.
Okay,
So
there's the answer.
So we do get reduction, we're staying under the required limit, but if they reduce it even farther, the only way to do that is either
Removal.
through a much, much larger tank or removal, and being that our other wells are generally at 4 and 5 parts, it's gonna be increasingly difficult to do blending and get a reduction that's gonna be meaningful.
Are there areas where, I know that in the past that I've asked for investigation of well sites, and I know that there's a lot going on in the district's plate, but is there areas in town where there's not, the arsenic is naturally occurring?
Right.
Is there areas in town where the minerals tell us that maybe not so naturally occurring, that are potentially feasible, or are we not at that point?
Right now, we're looking at a lot of different places around town, some of them, most of them in town, but some of them just outside of town. The water quality appears to be and has been described to the district as better going west.
Right?
So we're looking at the Cemetery Road area.
Up 10th Street.
Not necessarily up 10th Street, but either along Cemetery Road or on the east side of the freeway.
Okay.
So we're Vina Way?
Yeah, right at the end. Vina and Garland.
Would it be advantageous to look towards any of the other tributary streams that go into the Salinas, like San Marcos or off of, I think it's Vineyard?
That's right.
It's the creek that comes out from the park field that heads into the Salinas River. Would any of those creeks provide different quality water?
Well, we don't want to take water from a creek,
No, I know that.
so we want to stay away from surface water. The groundwater basin doesn't necessarily follow those creeks or the rivers necessarily. So we're looking blanket, in a blanket pattern right now, looking everywhere. But we're narrowing it down to where the best places are going to be. We're looking at where development is and whether or not that development can provide land to us instead of having to buy it, or provide a well to us instead of having to buy it. So right now we're looking at a development that's on the east side of the river that has high producing wells, but we don't have any water quality data. So they may be providing those wells. They may not have any arsenic at all. It's hard to tell, because arsenic is naturally occurring. It doesn't always run in the same places, and it's not necessarily the easiest thing to find. But
It doesn't necessarily show up right at first when you start pulling water. It might manifest later.
Kelly, how long was the SUV well online before arsenic showed up?
Well,
I'm sorry.
how long do you want this conversation to go? Yeah, the well that was there before was shut down for arsenic and nitrate, mainly nitrates, but it had arsenic. They drilled a new well and then immediately shut it down because it had almost 150% of the allowable arsenic. But that was a function of it not being run. So now that we run it, it's below the limit, but we still have to report it and we still have to limit it. Because it was over at one point. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Rob may or may not have told you guys we did put out for the lead operator jobs that you guys approved. So hopefully in early January, if we get any applications, we can do some interviews. We've been having, for the last several months, we've been having an issue with the interpreters, the conversion register that goes on our older meters. The batteries are dying right at 5 years. These are supposed to be 20-year batteries. Working with Master Meter right now to try to get a credit, because a lot of these meters, or a lot of these registers are meters that are now due for replacement. Trying to get credit for those registers instead of replacement in order to just replace the meter.
Is that a 20-year warranty on the battery, or is that an expected life?
It was it's a 10-year full replacement
Okay.
warranty, and then a 10-year
So you're figuring out what they need to do as far as honoring our warranty for dead batteries and
So
age of the
they're
meter as well.
at this point everything is well under warranty, so they're
Yes.
replacing it 100%.
Okay.
The problem we're having is that, like I said, we're getting to the point where a lot of these meters are past their replacement date.
Okay.
So we would be normally replacing them,
Okay.
but now we're trying to replace these registers and it's taking quite a long time to get some of these back because there's a lot of customers that have the same problem.
Okay.
So instead of trying to get them to replace the register, trying to get them just to give us credit and we can buy a new meter or replace the entire meter. We don't have the same problem with the full meter as we are with the conversion register. It's a different register with a different battery and a different radio.
It's made as a retrofit versus a
Right.
standalone or like all ready to go drop into the
Right.
fittings, right? Okay.
Did you have that guy's name?
I do. So the company is Pure Tech Industrial Water. The gentleman I work with is Cody George.